Welcome, my friends, to another episode of Unvarnished. Hello, Darren.
Hey, Chris.
How are you?
Good. We have Thanksgiving just passed, so I'm digesting. How about you?
I'm doing great. I know that many of our members and friends are in the middle of what we call busy season here.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's busy season for a lot of people, and our guest is no exception.
No.
He is deep in the throes of
He
busy
should be
season.
he should be working somewhere else right now, but he has decided to close his door and say, "No. I want to zoom out on my company, talk about how cool we are." And he is. This is a great person that we have with us today. But he should really be back in the, I don't know, in front of some press. Matt, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Wow. You're making me feel guilty here because hear you say that.
You're in the same space, Matt.
But I could never miss an opportunity to be with the two of you. That's for sure. Especially during this time.
We appreciate you being on. You have a remarkable story.
Yeah.
At the company, in all seriousness, this company has been around for 140 plus years, but it looks, acts, and goes to market like a company that has almost like an upstart. You have a very tech-minded mentality. You're e-commerce driven. You're on-demand driven, but you have this legacy of this really old company and this venerable institution of a printing firm. It's a very, very remarkable story. So we're happy to have you. We're always glad to talk to you, Matt.
Thanks, Darren.
And that really was a pretty terrible introduction because we never even gave Matt's full name, where he's from.
We just assume people know Matt.
We just assume, hey, look at this guy. You know who he is.
Right.
It's Matt Doran from the Anstadt company.
It is.
And so we'll start with a real question, other than all the just the praise upon which you've just been heaped by Darren Painter. How did you get involved with the Anstadt company?
Yes. So as Darren did make mention there earlier, I mean, we're an old company, a long-standing company. So 1878 is when our company started, is the official year. And so that being said, part of the reason I bring that up is not just because it is certainly something that's noteworthy, but the history of our company has been a family business throughout that time. And how I got involved with it was through that very avenue of family. I married into it. I didn't grow up in it. But my wife, Jennifer, and I are the fifth generation of family ownership and leadership, which is what brought me into this business and this industry for that matter, because my career didn't start here, as many of us do end up in places that we never thought we would. One of those examples, my career started in the pharmaceutical industry, working in healthcare for about 4 years right out of college before I entered into the printing industry about 23 years ago. Coming up, it'll be 23 years this coming year in 2025, I guess, coming up here.
I'm wondering, Matt, when you had the real impetus at first to say, this is what we want to be.
Yeah.
We're not this yet, but we want to be this. Can you take me back to that time and what was going through your head?
Yeah. So, it's an interesting, when I look back at my time in this industry, I entered into it in a very different time than where our industry is today. Over that 20 years is a lot of time, especially the way the innovation and evolution that's occurred rather rapidly. So, when I entered into it, the printing industry, I always say it was like very, kind of established as it's been. It's an old mature industry. We know that for a long time, as much as our company was. And so my background, I guess, going back to it again, not being in printing, I didn't know that. So I defaulted much more to where I kind of knew, from the few years being out of college, I had many years prior to coming in here in business world. But the way to answer is I really had this angle towards marketing because I had an affinity towards, I had a passion for it, and I had an appreciation for it. And so when I came into this industry, it's really how I kind of saw it more through a marketing lens at a time where our industry wasn't seeing that. And even when we went out in the market, as I learned this business a lot from going out in the market, selling and really getting involved from kind of the out hitting the road, so to speak, in a market where everyone's out there talking about, dots and pixels and inches and cut, this amount off, we're going to save this amount of money, where I was asking more the question, why are you even doing this? To the point where I'd have people kind of say, why do you care? I need 10,000, let's go do this and let's go get it done. But before we got there, I always wanted to know why are you doing this again? Not to question you shouldn't be, but just to understand the background behind what you're trying to achieve as a result of the printed medium. So, really as a result of that, our company started taking a turn just by natural evolution that I was actually helping to do without being asked to do that when I first stepped in here, and starting to turn our kind of company and our conversations into much more of a marketing focus 20 some years ago, that again naturally started to change the course of our company at a time where the industry wasn't quite doing that broadly. That to where we are today is much, much different than even where I started on back then, not just from a marketing mindset, but even just to where we are today as an e-commerce focused print manufacturing and fulfillment company.
Wondering if it was a challenge to get your team aligned with the idea that you're going to be talking to marketing managers and leaders, not just procurement people, and the difference of the conversation that you must have started having 10, 15 years ago with marketing minded people like you. You're not, at the time, you're not just trying to steer your own Anstadt ship into different waters, but you're talking now to the marketing minded people who are making decisions about, as you would say, on demand generation.
Mm-hmm.
Was it difficult, or was it challenging to sort of get the team aligned into that non-transactional way of thinking?
I mean, absolutely. Because again, we weren't any different than most of the industry as a company. We fit much more in a different mold and not a mold that typically had those conversations. So, again, part of it was evolutionary, but then I had the opportunity to step in and really start guiding the company about 5 or 6 years into it at a pretty young age, at a time where I was asked to step into the role of kind of taking this company to that next level. And in doing that, like any company, I mean, the transformation had to occur within as much on the outside to really align. And it did. It challenges in every way. I mean, in terms of, the people, the processes, the technology that was driving to support what we wanted to do, as well as out in the market. And, that was one of the tough things about it. And I reflect on that often. Like, there were a lot of good people that just no longer fit our company. And that was tough. I mean, those were some of the things really on myself and us as a company, personal conversations, whether it was my decision or the employee's decision, that just no longer fit. But I couldn't be afraid of that. We couldn't be afraid to make those decisions and make those changes, that otherwise we never would be where we are today if we didn't, because it did require a whole transformation of who we were as a company to include the market and how they saw us. And it did start to change. I remember getting, like, as I kind of mentioned earlier, like having these conversations with marketers, where all of a sudden it started becoming much more of a marketing conversation, where I'd have marketers call and say, hey, I want to get your ideas or thoughts on this. Not, hey, I need a quote on this. And I started telling our team members at the time, like, look, we need to stop talking less and less about specs and dimensions. And we're going to walk away with more specs and dimensions, which the other day is what we were trying to do, is get more print. And again, that started happening a long time ago. Now, today, I feel like we're firmly in those trenches. And now our company's even much further along in our evolution and transformation that's really gotten aggressive in the past 5 to 10 years, into a company that's even far beyond just being the marketing services company that we were evolving to 20 years ago.
What's been interesting to me, Matt, talking to you over the last couple of years, is how much you seem to love the general concept of strategy. You seem to be a strategy guy.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
I really do. And it's interesting, Darren, that you bring that up, because at the end of the day, that is what I enjoy most. I really do. I talk often to my wife about that, and just in general in here. I mean, that's what I do love. And, why that is, beyond, I mean, obviously it's important in any business, obviously to move it forward and transform it. But I do enjoy that. I'm not going to lie to you. Getting into the nuts and bolts of the operation, I love watching it and being a part of it and helping, again, to strategize, but it's not my thing. It just isn't. Getting inside. I mean, right now, believe me, peak season, we're talking about busy season. I'm on the floor. I'm doing way more manufacturing operational tactics than I ever do. But again, all hands on and whatever it takes to satisfy our customers and our company's needs during these intense times. But, the strategy is what I do enjoy. I love, again, the idea of doing that ideation and thinking about it, whether it be on a marketing campaign, going back to the things we're talking about with a customer, strategizing why you want to do that, to us as a company, where do we want to go? Who do we want to be, and how are we going to get there? And a little bit could be, it's programmed that way, a little bit innately. Plus I was, through experiences. I mean, I will say one of the best things, I was very, very fortunate prior to coming into this industry, as I mentioned earlier, I came from the pharmaceutical industry. I worked for Johnson and Johnson. It was a phenomenal company right out of college, and I was fortunate to be in their management program. Within a few months, I was entered into that, and I do think often to answer that question that helped me early on, impact me in a way that perhaps if I didn't do that, maybe it wouldn't be as much of a passion I ever realized until much later in my career than it did early on. So I've been very fortunate and blessed to have these kind of situations, in my life that entered me into this industry and this business that also was asked then to, again, take this company moving forward. Really not alone with a great team of people as any organization needs, but it's definitely my passion is trying to really drive and transform companies, industry, whatever it is.
Well, it seems like your team's done a phenomenal job of that. You talk highly of your team almost all the time whenever you're interviewed. What are you guys doing right now to help customers generate more demand, which has sort of been your rallying cry for the last couple of years, it seems?
Yeah, it absolutely has been. And we look at it kind of two ways. There's two things. We're helping our customers generate demand and also handle the demands of their brands. And that's really, if you look at those two areas, that's what it's all about. It's all about that demand generation and handling of such through our manufacturing process and innovation. And I think that's what it is. It starts with obviously mindsets. We're looking for people who buy into it like any good company is to what we're doing here, who we want to be. We've worked really hard and been deliberate and have had to do that to get to where we are. The other thing too is taking the time to be deliberate in the technologies that we've invested in that have helped us to build that. And again, that speak to the market. We look at the printing industry, it's changed a lot. We talked about that. I did very high level by saying that compared to when I entered into it 20 years ago. There are a lot of areas today that we always say that people don't need to print anything. We're not going to try to fight that battle to try to say, no, you got to print more. And I'll be the first one. I say this often to people, yet I make a living from the business of print to say, yeah, you probably shouldn't print that. You don't need to. You can send that via PDF. But there's that many other areas that you can't replace and substitute with another channel. And that's the areas we want to play in. And so that kind of speaks to that a little bit too, that we're going to give you everything we can through the innovation we've invested in and being very deliberate to say, these are the kind of technologies, digital print technologies to, the embellishments and all these things that we've done and invested in to help our customers generate more demand for their brands through things that they can't get in other mediums. And again, we've been very deliberate, taking risk with that too at times. I mean, stepped out ahead at times of making those investments, not being afraid. But again, also comes back to the strategy, being deliberate about saying, look, we're not going to fight that battle when I can sit there and agree with you too, that you don't need to print it. But there's many others that you do, and we're gonna capitalize on that. And that's how we've done that.
What's one investment that you are really glad you made?
Oh man. I mean, so think about this. Again, an 1878 founded company that we are. We have deep roots in this industry. I'll tell you this. I mean, the digital transformation, obviously, in how we process orders, that's part of that, but how we produce orders on the floor. I mean, our first digital press was an HP Indigo we put in 2006 timeframe, 2007, somewhere around there. It was soon after I started the company. It wasn't right away, but it was a few years into it. We've never looked back on that. I mean, the amount of iterations of it, replacing indigos, adding indigos, that kind of stuff like that. I'm no doubt most proud of that because I can now sit here and say for the past nearly 20 years, not quite, what that has done for us and where we've gone. That's probably been the hallmark investment, digital printing. And today I can sit and say, we're an all digital company. Our last offset press, which we made a very specific goal to be an all digital company by 2023. And our last offset press left our floor in March of 2023. So we were able to check that off and become that. But there's been some other ones though too around it though. They'll tell you like Scodex is a good example of it. When you look at that embellishment, I mean, we were one of the first in the US market to put that technology in with the digital foil technology. That was a really, at the time, it still is, like really out there. People were kind of like, what are you doing? I mean, like, what is that? Like, what are you doing? Again, we aren't afraid of those things. And that's another big one too, that I'll say was that I'm proud of and also feel has really helped us transform, into who we are within.
Yeah. So if you opened the door now and you went back to work like you should, as we discussed before, just kidding. Give me an example or two. Share an example or two with the Dscoop audience here about who you would see and what they would be doing with the spirit that Anstadt has. who would be running the, give me a name, drop a name or two of hardworking people that don't get enough credit at Anstatt. Who would you see and what would they be doing right now? Because I know you love the way your
Yeah.
team operates.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and this time of year, there's so many examples of
Sure.
unbelievable, efforts that are going on. Um, I mean, in fact, I'll tell you this. So during peak season, we have what we call the weekly Grit Awards. Grit is obviously a word that's used a lot in the world today, and it's one of our core values we have. And especially during times like this, we need to have exhibit those characteristics. So we do our weekly Grit Awards that we do where we honor right now 6 people in our company, which is not easy to do. The amount of people we have in here right now, close to 300 people in here working through our company during this time. But I go out to the press room here. There's a gentleman, Josh Watson, that's out there that, this is a guy that, not only is he working 12-hour shifts, which is our normal shift basis. We do 3 12s, but he's a guy that'll come in here and be working, another 12-hour shift above his 12-hour shift, and then still coming in here. Hey, we have a problem. He's getting in his car and coming in here for another 2 hours to help fix a problem that someone else in another shift can't quite, handle on their own. But then I look in our press room, and it's easy for me to go there right now thinking about that because how much volume, even though it hits every corner of our company. That's one of the areas I'm most proud of too, like the amount of women that we have in our press room, young women too, and it is really one of the most proud things I do without being when I walk into that press room and see it. There's a young high school girl named Kalisa who came through a tour that we've been putting on very deliberately, high school tours. We've really made an effort to get connected with the local high schools to show people what's possible in print. And she's one who I love to think about, reflect on that. Number one, if we didn't do those tours, that when she came through, she said, I want to do this someday. And here she is now today. She's going to graduate this spring, but she goes to school in the morning, then comes here and works in the afternoon, and she's back there working on indigos. And it's awesome to see that. And so there's a lot of examples here that I could go through, but, very similar people, but yet different. And Kalisa, again, using her as an example, a young person, because to kind of take off on that too, as an industry, myself included, we're always like, man, we need more people. We need more people in this here. Where are they? And then I sit and say, but what are we doing about it? They aren't showing up, but we're saying, well, why aren't they here? But we're not doing anything about it. And I think, I've talked about this to a lot of people, and that's where we've started saying, well, we need to do something about this. And guess what? When we did, and we are now, we're starting to get young people to say, I love this. I had no idea. And Cleese is an example of that really comes to mind.
Those are great examples. Thanks, Matt. Do you think going all digital will help with recruiting?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was a big part of it. So when there's a number of things that led us to being that, the kind of work that we wanted to be in, where we are today, how we wanted to operate as a company, the kind of people we want to recruit and retain, all that, and that one right there speaks to that. Absolutely was. We're getting a whole new generation of talent in here when they see the technology and innovation that they'd never even thought was going on within our industry. Let alone we print cool stuff. And we've always done that, not just here, but our industry. We do a lot of neat stuff, as you guys know. It's hard not to get excited about it when you do start to see it, but how we're doing it today is really awesome. To see the innovation going on.
Hey, I'm Chris. I'm one of the co-hosts here.
Yeah, Chris.
And Darren, if you don't mind, I just have a
I'm just going to put myself on mute. I'll see you guys.
You have a very deliberate and focused effort on developing people. It's clear from a lot of the communications you see out there in the public on social media, et cetera. Where do you get your own? It's sort of a two-pronged question. One, how do you train yourself? Like, how do you immerse yourself in ways to create a positive culture? Like how do you educate yourself on that?
It's a really interesting topic you bring up, because during a time like this, again, we're sitting there talking during peak season. We talk about that often. I've been talking about that daily with our team and our management meetings to on the floor about a winning attitude. You'll see people say this. This is our Super Bowl. I'm not the only one that says that who's in this kind of space. And we talk about that often. And I can tell you again, we talk about that winning attitude we got to have. Like we know we're going to have problems every single day. It's a given. There's going to be equipment breakdowns. There's going to be material situations. So how are we going to overcome those? And I'm telling you, like, we drive that home. I drive that home every day. And I will tell you, like, I think some, I mean, like, sports played a big part of my life. I mean, I played sports from the time I was a young kid all the way through college, playing college football. And I do think about that often. You ask anybody here, I'm talking sports every day. I'm talking like we're in the room doing X's and O's. We're looking at our starting lineups. I'm looking who, we need to move into this position, that position, no different than we're looking at, what down is it? What's our play? What's our configuration? What do we got to do based on the situation? There's no denying that has played a big part in my ability to be able to think like that and act like that. And I've never lost sight of that. Sometimes I do, but I quickly reel myself back in. And was to the point here, they probably get tired of hearing me talk like this because it's not a game. And obviously sports teach you a lot about life too, even though it is, arguably a game. I do it all the time. I mean, I'm serious. Like, I'm very dedicated, focused to it. And I come in here kind of looking like, look, I'm the head coach here, CEO, head coach, similar as you see it in college football, for instance. And I come in here every day with that mindset. We're here to win. Let's go. What's the score? Let's go. And I never lose sight of that. And I drive it home here every day. I'm able to.
Yeah. Do you have any like formal programming for education, for training, et cetera, you have 300 people, and that's a lot of people to coach.
Yeah. Yeah. To say formal, we don't, as much as I can say, like, we obviously take education and we leverage a lot of different things. I mean, Dscoop being one of those great examples. We're sitting here talking here that, whether it be going to the conference edge every year and or the platform and utilizing what's there is a great example of that. We do our best to tell our team and put them to know that this is there for them and let's utilize it. And that takes, it takes intention. There's so much content around us, with Dscoop, as well as industry-wide type stuff like that we do. We bring people in here to train. I will say, equipment, we don't just get a piece of equipment installed and say, okay, we're good, thanks, and we just figure it out. We invest a lot of money into that. I mean, we really do. I was just talking to our team about that the other day. When you look at it, what we put in there as line items to be able to ensure that we can bring people in here to train, even people who have already been formally trained. We send people away, our operators, to classes, not just, again, when a new piece of equipment comes in. But, outside of that, we leverage each other too, to challenge each other, that we learn a lot more than we probably give ourselves the credit that it's due, of challenging each other. I want a culture here that we do challenge each other, and that's healthy and comfortable, and not no, I don't, don't tell me, if you don't like what I'm doing, challenge me to it. Challenge me to do something better, no matter what my role is, no matter where my position is. But there are things, I'll tell you, Chris, to that point, that we need to be doing better when it comes to formalizing it. And that is some interesting things. You're bringing this up as we looked at 2025. I'm looking at some different programs and talked to other people in other industries that I'm close friends with about some of the programs to help even evolve it further, to build that winning culture and team that we need to succeed.
This is the co-host, Darren. I don't know if you remember me from before when I asked 8 questions in a row. Psychologically, if this was an NFL season and you were the coach of your team, stick with me with this metaphor, you would be playing 4 big games in a row in December, right? Like that's kind of how you feel right now. You have to win them all. Is there ever a psychological letdown after peak season?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, it's once you get there, you need a little psychological letdown. I mean, in all truth, you need to kind of not let down in the fullest way that you're kind of like giving up, but in a way to kind of have that breather. I mean, it is the most intense thing. And for any of us who are in this, I'm coming from the general commercial business, which we still participate in, a lot of that is still a big part of our business. It's unlike anything else. The intensity of what we go through is unlike anything else. I mean, it's just so different. And there's so many things to get into that could be another topic, another day, quite honestly, get into all that, but meaning what it does to you mentally and physically across the company. As we were saying earlier, lack of sleep. I mean, literally, it's nothing else like I've ever dealt with. I mean, we always have tough projects. So we have a problem. This is like ongoing, nonstop. For us, the brands we support, we're all in it together. That's the thing about it. It's not just on us. I can sit and say, oh, look at poor me. No, there's a lot of us doing this that they're impacted by it. So no, we need it once we get to January. We don't let down though, too. The new year started. Let's go. So we're gonna celebrate it, and that's what we're gonna do along the way. And we're gonna get people. Hey, you need to come off the field. Let's take a break here. Let's take some water here. Get a water break. But hey, let's go. We got to get ready to roll. Let's go. You have to. I mean, we got 365 days to do it. We're not stopping, and that's how we got to where we are and continue to go where we are. But I like a break too once in a while too. Not gonna lie to you, I need it too. I don't just work. Although sometimes my wife might say that. That's all I do.
Now, I have a question just on the strategy side and the demand side. You work with a lot of aggregators. You're still doing a lot of general commercial print for, direct to customer. How do you go about juggling or assembling that portfolio of work? How do you know when, oh boy, we're out of balance? Like how do you know when maybe we shouldn't go that route because it may throw us out of balance?
That's a really good question and a really tough one to answer. Very, very pointed, because it is a really tough juggling act. Because one of the things that helps when you look at a lot of the e-commerce brands that we support, the forecasting data that we're provided is instrumental, obviously, to be able to be at this point and it really be able to answer that. The allocations that we have to put forth, again, very different than the general commercial space. Even though we generally know how much customers give us a year, they'll give us a heads up, hey, next week, sometimes next month, maybe next quarter, we have this coming at you. It's a very different ball game in the space of e-commerce and these brands and these direct-to-consumer brands we support, where forecast data we're getting as early as June, and it's being fine-tuned throughout the year. So we're preparing. There should be no surprises. So, as we get closer to the peak season, which, is kind of November, December, even though it kind of sneaks into a little bit October, some of these brands, we kind of know what we're doing. We have enough time to plan around it, but it is very difficult because we have some really good customers that are really important to our company, not just because they're longstanding, of which some of them are, but also to what we do to make our business work, that we got to continue to take care of. And it's tough. I mean, it's a stress, but we've invested systems, processes that are fluid, that allow us to process many, many thousands of orders, to include the general commercial work that comes in a whole different, way. It's about investment in technology, processes, presses, not alone. I mean, the printing's the easy part. It's a lot of how we do this has been the peripheral investments we've made that enable this all to happen. People obviously are at the core of all that too, but there's been a lot more. The printing part is the easy part.
You've mentioned Dscoop being instrumental in your business over the last decade. You're enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
Contribute as board chair for the Americas and have volunteered for many things. You give a lot to the community. What do you get from the community?
Well, first, let me just say, Dscoop I am passionate about. I mean, I look at it as talk about a hallmark of my career and impact to this industry that, early on, I was fortunate to be invited to Dscoop prior to being an Indigo customer when Dscoop was just formulating as an organization. So, I didn't know what I didn't know. I was a kid, truly at the time when I look back at that point in my career. But, early on, I knew something was there. Something was special, but I kind of felt like this organization, this community was different. These were, as I've said to you guys before, these were my people. Like I felt that early, and it's just grown and grown and grown throughout the years. But, to that point, the amount that I give or others have given is what I've gotten in return as a result of it. If I didn't, give the time that I do, like I look at others doing the same, is what I mean by this. Like I'm trying to get at is, what I get is so much of where we are today has been because others have given their time and energy, similar to what you said that I do. Yeah, I do, because that's how we grow together. And that's what has enabled me to be where I am, by having others give. That in turn, that's what I get in return. And so I'm always happy to tell our story, share my ideas, have a call from someone saying, hey, what do you do? And me be the first to say, yeah, let me tell you. I'll tell you right now. I have no problem. We're not going to give away the company's secrets, Claire. I'm smart about that. And we're smart about that. But, we need each other, our industry. And that's what's so powerful about Dscoop as a community that I've found too. I mean, it is the collaboration, the friendships, the care for each other. I mean, it's one of the most powerful things that no other group in this industry have I ever found to be like that. That's helped me get to where I am, and even mentally as well as, physically get through what we deal with as an industry.
All right. Clearly, they need you out there. But before we go, we have some fun questions for you.
Okay. This will be good.
My first question. This is sort of like almost a Jeopardy for Matt Doran. 1997. 1997.
Mm-hmm.
What does the number 95 mean to you? Number 95 total.
Total tackles.
Bingo. Well done. Well done. You get a star. Next time I see
How could I
you.
forget that? I think it was at 45 unassisted, 46 assisted, or the other way around.
You're close.
Like
You're close.
that doesn't add
47 solo,
What does it say?
48 assisted.
I was going to say, my math didn't even add up to 95. There. Yeah, so. I love it. Yes, I remember that year well.
Congratulations. Team leader that year.
Yes.
Team leader.
Yes.
You were right in between David Streeter and Barrett Doxley.
Yes, two great teammates, two phenomenal players.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Darren, do you have any? You have one more question? We do have one more request before we go. So, Darren, you have any question?
No, go for it. Go for the request, Chris.
Okay. We see a little snout peeking out there behind you. There's a little red snout.
I gotta get this. Yes.
You have become relatively recently a fan of the Razorbacks.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, that is an Arkansas Razorback, pride of Arkansas. And as we've come to understand, they have a special welcome for their team when their football team hits the field.
Yes, they do.
And
yeah.
Matt, Darren and I would love for you to teach us. Look, we're limbering up.
Yeah, you gotta loosen up.
We got to loosen up. If you could just teach us that little welcome, we would be most appreciative.
Well, and first how I got connected there. My daughter's a freshman at University of Arkansas. Never being from Pennsylvania, we're headquartered. Never did I think I'd be visiting Arkansas, but I do now with a daughter going to school there, and it's been fun to obviously watch my kids grow as we all, anyone who has them enjoy that. But to spend time in Arkansas, a place I never thought I'd be going to. So yes, they do have quite a unique chant. It's Woo Pig Suey. Go Hogs is not the chant, but what they're going with. So are you guys ready for this?
We're ready.
All right. So
okay.
So here's the deal. So it's 3 times you got to do this.
Okay.
So, I'll do it to you one time. It's Woo Pig Suey.
Okay.
Do that another time.
Okay.
And then the last time, it's Pig Suey Razorbacks.
Okay. Right. We'll try our best.
Yeah.
Okay. So 1, 2, and then 3. Pig Suey, go Razorbacks.
So we're going to do 3 times. Woo, Pig Suey, woo, Pig Suey, and then at the end, Razorbacks at the end.
All right, here we go.
There you go. You ready?
Okay. Yep.
All right, here we go. Woo, Pig Suey. Woo, Pig Suey. Woo, Pig Suey. Razorbacks.
All right.
Yes. You guys are in. It's a little awkward the first time you do it, but you get used to it real quick when 80,000 people are doing it in the stadium, which is a unique thing, calling those hogs.
Now, what my envision before we say goodbye, I have a vision of you, now that the phone's been ringing, that the first thing you do when you go out to the floor, you have some new go Anstadt cheer loosely related to that.
I might need to do that, or I'll just yell "Woo Pig" at them, and I keep walking. They're like, "What was that?"
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That's what your team needs right now.
Yes, they do. I needed that right now too.
That's right.
Calling the hogs with you guys is fun. Amongst this whole conversation.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Matt. It's been an absolute pleasure. Nothing but good luck and health and happiness to everybody on your team and family during this really busy time.
Yeah, go win.
Yes. Thank you, guys. I needed this today. This is great.
All right. Thank you.